I am Lamont at large today. I am at the Glendale Cemetery once again here in Des Moines, Iowa. So we'll start off with this grave. This is Special FBI Agent Herman Edward Hollis, January 27, 1903 to November 27, 1934. He is buried next to his wife, Genevieve. She died about 33 years later after him. He was a part of a special detail of the FBI where they were after a man by the name of John Dillinger. So they had a special unit just for those kinds of criminals, but they were hot on the heels of that guy at the time. And Herman was in Barrington, Illinois, and they had got a tip that two of the gangsters that were a part of the Dillinger gang were in the area. They found the suspected car, and a chase ensued, and they bumped their car into a ditch. They crashed, and Herman and his partner jumped out of their car, pulled out their guns to apprehend the two, and one of the gangsters pulled out a submachine gun, a pretty famous gangster by the name of Lester Joseph Gillis, but you probably better know his gangster name as Babyface Nelson. He pulls out his submachine gun and lets loose and kills both FBI agents, but they were able to return fire, killing him. So thank you for your service, Special Agent Hollis, FBI. This is Stephen Paswan Kim, September 2nd, 1975 to April 21st, 2017. Inscribed on the bottom, it says, "May God always be with you." Stephen was born in Myanmar, and with his wife, they immigrated, being refugees from a very dangerous country where being a particular religion can make life very difficult for you. Him and his wife came to this country. They settled down in Des Moines. They had 3 kids, all under the age of 9. This man worked 2 jobs, and he worked very, very hard. Him and his wife both worked to help support their family. And on April 21st, 2017, Stephen was in a car with his kids waiting for his wife. And 4 individuals approached him and tried to rob him. And I'm not sure if he fought him off or whatever, but one of them decides to shoot this man. One of his sons goes screaming, going to the neighbors, crying, "My dad's been killed." The police are called. The paramedics come. They perform CPR on him. He's taken to the hospital, where he later succumbs to his injuries. 3 little children under the age of 9 witnessed in front of them their father being executed. And that's all that was. Myanmar is a very dangerous country, and to go from Myanmar to here, you would think it'd be a safer country, but unfortunately it's not. And this reminds me of December 2, who I visited his grave in Kansas City. And we got 4 punks in the street who are responsible for this man's murder. And this is the 3rd grave here that is an unsolved murder, and all of the online articles about it, they do not reference a description of the person or persons responsible for these crimes. I don't know why. One of you pulled the trigger, and the 3 of you were with your friend. And maybe the streets tell you not to snitch. But somebody needs to speak up. Tuan Ngoc Lam, September 9th, 1969 to October 12th, 2015. Tuan was born in Vietnam on September 9th, 1969, and he immigrated to the United States in 1990. And at the beginning of August of 2015, he went to the doctor, and it was discovered that he had stage 4 cancer, and it was very aggressive cancer, and they began treatments right away, but unfortunately it was to no avail. He succumbed to the disease on October 12th, 2015. Always a friend in need. He would always be there anytime anybody asked him for help. He came and running. This was a good guy right here. Jordan Christopher McBride, March 6, 1987 to November 8, 2018. He was born in Kaufman, Texas, and he graduated from Iowa State University, and he received his master's degree at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. And at the time of his death, he was a Treasury financial consultant for Wells Fargo Bank. He died in an automobile accident. Gary W. Bashir, December 12, 1942 to November 21st, 1996. He was a Vietnam veteran, and at the time of his death, he had retired from Kraft Foods. He was a human resources manager. He died at a hospital of pneumonia. Tammy Jo Barnes, September 12, 1968 to April 21st, 1997. Mother of Christina Barnes and Tyler Hill. Alive in our hearts forever. Tammy Jo died of a respiratory illness at her home. At the time of her death, she was a waitress at a local diner here in Des Moines. I stopped by this grave because I noticed a young boy was buried here and possibly alone. It looks like there's opposite side spaces for his mother and father. And there is a man by the name of Maurice Toussaint, June 29th, 1909 to February 6, 1975. His stone is right there. I don't see where the mother's stone could have possibly be. Maybe they're all buried together, and or I don't know, maybe she's buried somewhere else, or maybe they just didn't inscribe the stone. John and Patricia Bonacci both died in 1951. They were married. They were both originally from Des Moines, Iowa, but they had moved to California. Patricia was a switchboard operator for a local county general hospital in Santa Barbara, which is about an hour or so north on the coast of Los Angeles. And John was a cigarette salesman based out of Sacramento, California. The exact date is unknown on the line, but there was, from what Sheriff Detective said, there was some kind of a fight between John and Patricia. John pulled out his gun and shot Patricia beside her car where they were arguing. By the time they got to her, she died within minutes. And there was an APB put out on John Bonacci. And by the time they were able to get to him, he had already died in his car of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Alicia Allison, 25, of Des Moines, passed away unexpectedly on November 14th, 2018. She was born September 25th, 1993 in Des Moines, Iowa. She was a 2012 graduate of Johnston High School. In 2014, she graduated from PCI as a massage therapist. Alicia was the most beautiful and charismatic woman in the world. Alicia wanted to make everyone around her happy. A few words that describe Alicia are caring, open-minded, carefree, sweet, loving, and beautiful. She was very adventurous and loved to travel. She was the best daughter and sister in the world. This here is Big Earl Hamilton, June 15th, 1943 to September 29th, 1996. Big Earl was the owner of a very successful strip club that was located right on the outskirts of Des Moines. It was in Polk County, and it was the county's first strip club that was totally nude. Now, when you had a totally new club, like most places around the country, you can't serve alcohol. But different counties have different jurisdictions. Usually, if you can't serve alcohol, nobody could bring in alcohol either, but his club was some kind of exception. I don't know if it was on the books or they just went ahead and allowed their customers to go ahead and bring their alcohol. So places like that, what you would do is you go into the establishment and there's a quote-unquote bartender. You give them whatever you brought in, and then when you go to get a drink, you tip them a couple bucks or whatever. So on the very early morning hours of September 29th, 1996, Big Earl was locking up for the night, and an assailant came out of nowhere and shot him once in the side of the head. The paramedics were called, and he was flown to the hospital in an emergency room where he later succumbed to his injuries. Detectives believe that the murder took place because earlier that month, Big Earl fired some dancers from Milwaukee. Detectives went out to Milwaukee to interview them, and they didn't have enough evidence to bring in any kind of charges on them. But the police did suspect that these 4 fired dancers, because they were all friends and all together, that they suspect that that's why the murder took place. 3 years later, after Big Earl's death, somebody set the club on fire and it burnt to the ground. They caught the assailant of that, but they, again, didn't have enough evidence to bring any kind of arson charges, so they just charged him with second-degree burglary, and I believe he received probation. So now we have almost 24 years later, and this man's murder still remains unsolved. Well, I'll tell you what, I got 50,000 reasons why you might want to turn in the person or persons responsible for this man's murder. The family has put up a $50,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest and capture of the person or persons involved in Big Earl's murder. I have a number to give you guys. Please call the Polk County Sheriff's Office. The number's 515-286-3814. Again, 515-286-3814. Of course, you can remain anonymous, and any help that you give them would be appreciated. Rodrigo Deuteron Sr., March 13th, 1940 to April 3rd, 1999. Rodrigo was at a dance hall on the 1800 block of East Army Post Road, and according to witnesses, a brawl broke out inside of the establishment. Witnesses said it looked something like out of a Western movie where chairs were being thrown, bottles, and it was just a very chaotic scene. The fight spilled out side of the club, and Rodrigo and another man were outside, and there was women arguing with another man. That's when the reports get really dicey, and I, of course, don't know what really happened. The police don't know if Rodrigo was an innocent bystander or he was involved in the altercation, but somebody pulls out a pistol, shoots a gentleman in the arm, and shoots Rodrigo in the chest. He was taken to the emergency room where he later succumbed to his injuries. The killer still is at large, has not been caught, has not been found. If anybody was at that dance hall about 21 years ago, you remember that fight, or you remember somebody talking about it. We all know the story. It's very difficult when somebody takes another person's life. It's very difficult for them to keep that story inside. They always usually tell somebody, a close friend, a relative, what have you. If anybody has any information on this man's murder, the Des Moines Police Department homicide detectives want to hear from you. Their number is 515-283-4864. Again, 515-283-4864. Okay, guys, that concludes another video from Glendale Cemetery here in Des Moines, Iowa. And I want to read off a couple of numbers in case anybody out there has any information on Stephen Kim's murder. Please give the Des Moines Police Department a call. Their number is 515-283-4811. Or you can call Crime Stoppers 515-223-1400. And just want to say a message to the killers. Every dog has his day. And for sure, maybe you guys don't know, don't care. Maybe you possibly laugh to your friends about it. But let me tell you something. I'm pretty sure there's a reward for the capture of the murderer. So if anybody on the street, and you know who did it, hey, you know, you think you might be labeled a snitch. First of all, they would never know you told, and you would help get a killer off the streets. And the same goes to the other graves of the unsolved murder victims. Anyways, Lamont at large, live but not live, but still live by the grace of God. Thank you for watching. I always appreciate it. I'll catch up with you on the next vlog. Peace out.